Hello, I'm Stefan from Extreme Distribution. Within that video, I'd like to give you an introduction to Squared Paper Busby. It's an application that can run either file-based workflows or it can drive scheduled actions. So like play out, stream switches, or many more. That can all happen fully automatically or via user interface. Here on that laptop I'm connected with our demo environment and I've opened a user interface for a file-based workflow. The user interfaces can be created quite flexibly because we have standard building bricks and we can combine them to a more rich user interface. That especially applies where we have interaction with live streams, need a scheduler, need a player, need whatsoever control. Or in a file-based workflow where we have a need for monitoring workflows but also to handle exceptions. For instance, where we need a player application to see the content and then to make a decision on what to happen. Workflows are orchestrated in the backend. Even a live action, so a scheduled action, is a small workflow. It's simply a live triggered workflow, while the file-based workflow is happening from a queue list. Here I've opened one of our basic workflows that's about an ingest. Ingest from a watch folder or from an upload user interface, where we drive as the very first step an automatic quality control. In case of an exception, we run a manual QC and afterwards a transcode. So either there was no problem or it was approved by the operator, then the transcode happens. And last but not least, we do a handover to the next element in the workflow. Here it's editing, so we hand over the content into the PAM. The orchestration happens on one hand with this graphical workflow editor. On the left-hand side, you see all the available components to do so. Start components, transform components, hand over to the asset management, and various common ones. Then, for the actual configuration of that workflow step, there's some standard parameters that we have to configure, and we can drive a script that does the actual triggering of that third-party application. It makes use of something what we call drivers. So drivers are a standard module that is delivered with the system, and you orchestrate your all-over workflow by partly graphical workflow orchestration and partly a little bit scripting. Don't be worried, scripting is not difficult because there's a built-in helper function that helps you to automatically complete the various lines. But you should have a little bit of an idea about how script development works. Here in that user interface we see how this workflow is managed. And for instance, with a drag and drop, I can move one of that earlier jobs back to the very beginning. So the good old Big Buck Bunny clip is now on one hand automatically checked. We do that in this case with Venera Pulsar, and we can even see the video as it's being processed. We'll get a status bar, a progress bar, just now. And once this has happened, based on the result, a decision is done where either the transcode starts automatically, most likely to happen in this case, and afterwards the check-in into the PAM. So this next element here is already in the check-in to the PAM. Our Big Buck Bunny is now in the transcoding. We do that with Capella FTC. The operator can double-click that items, and here he gets more information about what was the watch folder, what was the result from the QC. Here I can download that QC report, or I can even see it in line here in the application. That helps especially on one hand to manage the exceptions in the normal production, or worst case for troubleshooting. So that was the information about what happened in the automatically QC, and here that is about the transcoding. Not that much because that clip is currently transcoding, so there is not yet a status update on this. The system can take status and metadata from all that steps, independently how many it is, and can manage it either as a runtime metadata, this is what we see here, or metadata can be also persist in a database. It's a minimum at the end. Yeah, that simple it is. If you want to get more information, if you want to see other user interfaces, if you want to discuss your projects, your particular needs, please make contact with us. We are happy to show you all the details of Squared Paper Busby.